Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Report. Today, I want to talk to you about something that has become surprisingly controversial in parts of the country, and it's something that most of us use every single day without ever even thinking about it. I want to talk to you about data centers. Across America, there are communities fighting proposals to build new data centers. Residents are worried about power consumption, water usage, traffic noise, aesthetics, and the impact of these facilities might have on their communities. Some of those concerns are legit and deserve serious discussion. But what concerns me is that too many people are approaching this issue as if the choice is between having data centers and not having them. That choice no longer exists. Data centers are not some optional luxury of modern life. They are now a fundamental part of infrastructure that supports our economy, communications, entertainment, banking, healthcare, national defense, and increasingly our AI systems. The real question is not whether they will be built. The real question is where they will be built and who will build them and who will own them and who will benefit from them. One of the greatest marketing successes in modern history was convincing people that their data lives in something called the cloud. The cloud sounds harmless. It sounds soft and weightless and almost magical. The cloud sounds like something floating peacefully overhead. The reality, of course, is much different. The cloud is a building. Sometimes it's many buildings. The cloud is rows and rows of servers, storage devices, network switches, cooling systems, backup generators, fiber optic connections, and electrical infrastructure. Every photograph you upload, every email you send, every YouTube video like this one that you watch, every online purchase that you make will be watching you. And every social media post you create ultimately travels through physical equipment located in a physical place. For years, most Americans did ignore that reality because the infrastructure remained largely out of sight. Today, however, the explosive growth of AI is forcing the issue into the public conversation. The demand for computing power is growing so quickly that companies are racing to build new facilities across the country. And suddenly now, bing, people are discovering that the digital world they rely upon requires a very physical foundation. The, the first point I think we need to establish is that there is no realistic path back. There's no way to get back. There's no movement, no political party, no environmental organization, no technology company proposing that America abandon the digital economy. No one is suggesting that we stop using online banking or we stop streaming video or that businesses return to paper filing cabinets or hospitals return to entirely paper records. Even the strongest critics of modern data technology continue to use smartphones, email, GPS navigation, digital pay systems, and online communication platforms. The reality is that we've crossed this bridge years ago. Our economy, government, and daily lives are now depend on digital infrastructure. Once we accept that fact, we can begin to have a more honest discussion. If a digital economy is here to stay, then the facilities required to support that economy must also exist somewhere. This is where the conversation often becomes detached from reality. Opponents of particular projects frequently speak as if rejecting these proposed data centers may means preventing a data center from being built. Well, in truth, it usually means that the facility will simply be built somewhere else. The demand does not disappear because local planning board says no. The need for computing power doesn't vanish because the residents object to the appearance of the building. The investment doesn't evaporate because activists organize a protest. The project simply moves. Maybe it moves to another country or county. Maybe it moves to another state. Maybe it moves to another country. But it moves somewhere because the demand remains. That distinction is critical. We are deciding where they will exist. We are deciding who receives the economic benefit. We're deciding who controls the infrastructure and who will have influence over one of the most important industries of the 21st century. Artificial intelligence has made this discussion even more urgent. Before AI became the hottest topic in technology, data centers were already expanding to keep pace with growing internet usage. AI has simply accelerated that demand dramatically. Training advanced artificial intelligence systems requires enormous amounts of computational power. Running those systems requires even more infrastructure. Every time millions of people ask AI systems questions, I mean, whether that's Chat GPT or Claude or Venice or whatever you use, and whatever the companies that you use, you know, every time millions of people ask those AI system questions, generate images, create videos, and analyze data or automate tasks, servers somewhere are doing tremendous amounts of work. That work requires facilities. Those facilities require land, electricity, cooling systems, and investment. Whether you love AI, hate AI, or remain skeptical about its long-term impact, one thing is clear: the technology is not going away. Businesses are adopting it. Governments are adopting it. So are universities and consumers. That means the infrastructure supporting it will continue to expand. Now, this brings us to a question that conservatives should be asking more often. If these facilities are going to be built regardless, where would you prefer them be located? Now, we just have to understand that these facilities are going to be built. And if these facilities are built, where would you prefer them be located? Would you rather have critical digital infrastructure located inside the US, operating under American law, protected by American security standards, and connected to American energy and communication networks? Or would you prefer a future in which increasing amounts of our digital infrastructure are concentrated overseas under the influence of foreign governments and foreign corporations? Well, to me, the answer seems obvious, right? We have spent decades learning painful lessons about dependence on foreign manufacturing. We have learned lessons about supply chains. We have learned lessons about pharmaceuticals. We have learned lessons about strategic resources. Why would we willingly repeat those mistakes when it comes to data and computing power? National security alone makes a compelling case for domestic data center development. Modern military operations depend on data. Intelligence gathering depends on data. Cybersecurity depends on data. Communications depend on data. The country that possesses the strongest digital infrastructure enjoys significant advantages. That reality is one reason nations around the world are heavily investing in computing capacity. They understand that data infrastructure is no longer merely a business concern. It's a strategic asset. In previous generations, governments worried about railroads, ports, highways, airports, power plants. Today, they must also think about data centers because the economy and the security of modern nations increasingly depend on it. A country that neglects digital infrastructure is placing itself at a disadvantage in a world that is becoming more competitive every single year. All right. Now address we should address some of the criticisms, right? That's only fair. Data centers do consume a substantial amount of electricity, and in some cases, very substantial amounts. Communities have legitimate questions about whether existing power grids can support rapid expansion. Water usage can also be significant depending on the cooling technology employed. Residents often worry about environmental impacts, land use, and the strain placed on local infrastructure. Now, these are not foolish concerns. This is real. They deserve careful consideration. The mistake often occurs when people assume these concerns automatically outweigh every potential benefit. Every major infrastructure project involves trade-offs. Thomas Sowell, there are no solutions. There are only what? There are only trade-offs. Airports have impacts that's like highways do in ports and manufacturing plants. The question is not whether trade-offs exist. The question is whether the benefits justify them and whether those impacts can be managed responsibly. One criticism frequently raised is that data centers do not create enough permanent jobs. And compared to some traditional manufacturing facilities, there's truth to that argument. A data center may not employ thousands of workers every day once construction is complete. However, focusing solely on permanent headcount misses the broader economic picture. Building these facilities requires construction workers and engineers and electricians and project managers, equipment suppliers, network specialists, security personnel, and maintenance teams. So beyond that, the modern business increasingly looks for regions with strong digital infrastructure before making investment decisions. Reliable computing capacity, communication network, and technological ecosystems attract additional businesses. Those businesses create jobs. The presence of infrastructure encourages further development. In many cases, the data center itself is only part of the story. I also think that there is a psychological component to this debate that needs attention. Many people still think of data centers as optional technology projects because they cannot physically see services those facilities provide. No one questions the need for roads because they drive on them every day, or electrical infrastructure because they see the lights on when they flip a switch. Data infrastructure, however, is different. Most people never see it. Now, they experience the benefits without seeing the machinery behind the benefits. As a result, it's easy to underestimate its importance. Yet, if data centers disappear tomorrow, modern life would come to a standstill instantaneously. Banking systems would fail, communication networks would collapse, healthcare systems would struggle, businesses would grind to a halt. The very fact that we rarely think about these facilities is evidence of how effectively they perform their function. So when I hear people say they simply don't want data centers, I often wonder, what alternative future do they imagine? Do they expect artificial intelligence development to stop? Do they expect internet traffic to decline? Do they really expect businesses to abandon digital operations? Do they expect cloud computing to disappear? Folks, none of those things are going to happen. None of those things are going to happen. Excuse me. The demand, excuse me again, the demand for data is growing. The demand for processing power is growing. The demand for storage is growing. Even in my own little home computing situation, and I think a lot of us, when we talk about storage, will have. I have in my computer, which you can't see here. Well, you kind of see because my hand's there. In my computer, it has a 6 gig and a 6 terabyte and a 500. It came with a 500 gig hard drive. That's a lot. Here, in this box that you can see is another 6 TB. I have a inside cloud on our system that I got a few years ago. That's another 2 TB. Now, if I need, and I really do, because the 2 TB disk is almost full. The extra 6 here is new, and it's almost empty. But if I can see the need for 20 TB of storage just in my home, you know that a business the size of Citibank, what they need, a business the size of Amazon, what they need. And I use Citibank and Amazon because a lot of people have their banking with Citibank and loans and credit cards and the like, and Amazon. Come on, who doesn't have an Amazon box showing up at your house at least once a week? Come on, be honest. Exactly. So we all need this, really. The demand for data, they're accelerating. Pretending otherwise may feel satisfying politically. It may give you something, get your endorphins going, but it doesn't change the reality. Reality has a way of asserting itself regardless of our preferences. Because 10 years from now, I believe we will look back at this period much the same way previous generations looked at the expansion of railroads, interstate highways, and electrical grids. There were debates then as well. There were concerns. There were local objections. There were fears about change. Yet those infrastructure investments helped define American prosperity for generations. Data centers represent a modern version of that very same challenge. They may not be as visible as railroads or as dramatic as bridges, but they are becoming every bit as important to economic growth and national competitiveness. Now, folks, the bottom line is remarkably simple. Data centers are coming. They're not coming because politicians want them. They're not coming because corporations are greedy. They're not coming because technology enthusiasts like myself are excited. No. They're coming because modern civilization increasingly depends upon digital infrastructure. The demand exists. The need exists. The technology is there. The investment is there. The only remaining question is who will lead and who will follow. America can choose to build, innovate, compete, and maintain control over critical infrastructure, or it can allow others to seize these opportunities. For me, that is not a difficult decision. If these facilities are going to be built, and they are, I would rather see them built here. I would rather see the investment happen here. And the jobs they create, I'd rather have them be created here. I would rather see the expertise developed here. And most importantly, I would rather see America remain a leader in the technologies that will shape the future than become dependent upon those that do.